Alright, what's going on, y'all? This is the Justin Gibbons Show. I am your host, Justin Gibbons, and today we're going to talk about Christmas and mushrooms. Now, you probably wouldn't think that these two things are linked together, but they most definitely are. In specific, one mushroom in particular, one mushroom called the Amanita muscaria mushroom. I'm going to pan over here, and that is the Amanita muscaria. Now, you might have seen this mushroom on different postcards and stuff like that, but Mario Brothers, any type of Mario, would have had that mushroom. That mushroom gives Mario his power, it makes him grow, it can allow him to shoot flames, stuff like that. But it also has a lot to do with Christmas. And so you see, the Amanita muscaria mushroom, it grows with coniferous trees, which is pine trees. They grow underneath them, all right? They also grow in the North Pole, okay? And so these shaman in the North Pole, they often pick these mushrooms. Now, some of the effects of this mushroom is your body overheats, which is good if you're in a snowy climate, right? So what would happen is these shaman would go out in the winter. They would find these mushrooms growing underneath pine trees, so pretty much the presents wrapped in white and red, because the colors of Christmas is green, red, and you could say white. White is an often used color, but definitely green and red. The Amanita muscaria is red, and the pine tree is green. They would find these underneath the trees. Now, mushrooms have a soft texture. And so what you would do is you would take these Amanita muscaria mushrooms and put them in a bag. But if you put them in a bag to begin with, after you have so many in there, the weight of them would turn the ones at the bottom into mush. So people who are familiar with magic mushrooms know you dry them out. So in order, before you stuff them in the bag, what you would do is you would just stick them in the pine trees. You just stick them in there. So there's your ornaments on the Christmas tree. Later on, after you picked enough, you would come back, they would be partially dried, you'd put them into the bag, and you'd bring them to your house. Now, these shaman live in, like I said, the North Pole, and often their houses are snowed in, and they live in these like sort of teepee, these huge, not like an Indian, not like a Native American teepee, but like it's a bigger, more circular. Think the cross between a teepee and an igloo, but with a hole in the top. Now, whenever the outside of the teepee would get snowed in, the way you would enter it is you would climb up on top of the teepee and enter in through the chimney, like Santa does. Oftentimes, in the winter, when your house, when the shaman's house gets snowed in, caribou, aka reindeer, would often walk on top of these houses. That's where you get the pitter-patter of the reindeer's feet on your roof. Not only that, reindeer love the Amanita muscaria. They get hallucinogenic effects also, and things like the warming of the body also from this. They love the Amanita muscaria mushroom so much that that has been said that when you pee, they will knock you over to get to your pee because they can smell the Amanita muscaria inside of it. And it is actually quite potent after it goes through your body and you urinate it out. It's even more potent than when you eat it originally. So when you think about this, you're a shaman, you live off the land, you're nomadic because you have teepees. That means you travel with the caribou, which is the reindeer. You travel around with them, and they eat this Amanita muscaria, and then you see them eat the pee from the other animals that then pee to their own pee after they eat this Amanita muscaria. You would probably try this too, like our reindeer eat it, let us eat it, or maybe even a reindeer who had just ate some you might have killed for food and found some of this effect. Back to Christmas, these shaman often dressed in red and white. They emulate the mushroom. Let's see. Let me see. I'm gonna try to get some. Try to pull up a shaman's dress for you. Here we go. See, they emulate the Amanita muscaria, and that's how you get Santa with the red and white. And see, I'm gonna pull up right here the correlation. Let's see here with Santa, if I can. You see, look, here's one right here with Santa on a Amanita muscaria mushroom, and is, you know. Oh, and here's another fact. So sometimes these Amanita muscaria, they flip up when they get older. Let me see if I can find a picture of one flipped up. Oh, here we go, right here. This is perfect. All right, so they form like a cup, like a chalice, right? And sometimes these chalices get dew that are in them. And so when a reindeer eats them, the red dye from the mushroom, from the Amanita muscaria, covers that white part on a reindeer's nose. Sort of like when a dog eats dog food, a white dog eats dog food to get that brown stuff all around its face. Well, the Amanita muscaria would turn that red, and that's how you get Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. So, and there are plenty of correlations. There's a great book. It is a tough read. Man, it is a tough freaking read. So if you're not a good reader, or you're not great at reading the fucking super intelligent text, like I felt like when I was reading this guy's book, I felt like, dude, it was tough. I had to read it like 3 or 4 times, and I still don't understand it all. But John Marco Allegro. Now, John Allegro, he worked on the Dead Sea Scrolls. When the churches found out about the Dead Sea Scrolls, they hired John Marco Allegro and a few other people to decode it. Now, he worked on it for 14 years, deciphering the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he was one of the only people. He was the only person, I believe, to actually start. That was at the beginning of the starting of the task, and finished it all the way out to the end. Now, it is his belief. This is where a lot of the research on this mushroom comes up from. It is his belief that religion, Judaic religion, is the culmination of fertility worship and mushroom worship. Fertility cults and mushroom worship. That's what. And this is a guy who was an ordained minister who deciphered the Dead Sea Scrolls. Was a master at language deciphering and ancient languages and all of this stuff there. So don't take my word for it. Like I said, you can read his book. It's called The Mushroom and the Cross, or is it The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross? You can just look him up. John Allegro, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, I believe. But back to Christmas here. So you got the mushrooms. There's the presents underneath the Christmas tree. When you dry them out, you hang them on the Christmas tree. There's your ornaments. Caribou, aka reindeer, love them. All right. One of the other effects, because this is a magical mushroom, it is a psychedelic mushroom, which is legal, by the way. You can even you can ingest these, I'm pretty sure, in America. But don't take my word on that. I'm not 100% sure, but they may not be legal to eat. They may be legal to have in your yard. I forget how that goes. Don't take my word on that. Just look it up for your state or country or whatever you're in. Where was I at? The caribou, they love them. Here's another thing. So when you dry these things out, especially with magical mushrooms, you would like to dry them out so they last longer. You take them and you put them in your wet stockings, and you hang them over the fireplace, because you're walking in snow all the time that melts, your feet get wet, or whenever it's like really cold, your feet will sweat inside. And anyway, but you could take these and hang them inside of a stocking, and you hang them over the fireplace just like you would dry your regular stockings, because that's where this whole thing comes from, is the whole drying your stockings thing, or hanging up stockings, because it was wet and you need dry stockings tomorrow. you hang them in there and that'll dry the mushroom too. And so when you picture the guy, the shaman dressed in red and white, and he's coming in through the chimney with a bag of goods to give to all. And another thing is with this naughty and nice thing, you know, if you've ever experienced a psychedelic trip of any type, if you go into it with bad intentions or having a bad day or bad emotions or anything negative, it will be a bad trip. But if you go in there with love and freedom and surrenderance, you surrender yourself to the effects, you will have a good trip. So he's checking it twice. If you're naughty and nice, I mean, it is super highly complex. And the thing of it is, nobody knows anything about this. This is crazy because you would think that we would know, but the more and more research I've done on this, the deeper and deeper I got into it. You know, so take for instance, like India. Take for instance, they're not allowed to eat cows or kill cows. They're like, a cow is like a holy animal, probably where you get the word holy cow. You know, so why do you think that is? You know, because you could take, for instance, like cubensis or what is another? There are certain mushrooms that grow out of cow crap. They grow out of cow shit, and so and a lot of these mushrooms, they contain a form of DMT. It's a form of DMT that can be broken down as you ingest it. Anyway, when you ingest these certain magical mushrooms, they allow you to interact with the unknown. A lot of people experience that they are talking to God or aliens or gnomes or fairies or these magical creatures. And a lot of people experience that they get answers. They ask questions and they get answers. Unbelievable answers. Like divine answers. So another word which you would get is holy shit. Because these mushrooms grow out of cow dung. Now, we know that they worship the cow in Egypt. They worship it in India. They've also in Egypt the scarab beetle, which lives off of cow shit, was was a highly worshipped insect. You know, so and this book brings a lot of that into mind, into fold, you know, and we know in the Bible that they had that manna, which literally translated into "what is this?" That's what they called it. What is this? And they described it as little round pieces of bread, I believe, or it might have been flesh, one of the two. Lots of historians believe that what they're referring to is mushrooms, because they would come up in the morning with the dew and they would pick them immediately. And I think there's some quote in there like let none be untaken or some unuprooted or something like that. So I mean this goes way beyond what I could tell you, you know, because it's just really super in depth, and there's a lot to research on it. And I mean, it's a lot. We know that mushrooms have influenced humans greatly. As a matter of fact, there is a theory out there called the stoned ape theory. And the human consciousness of the Homo sapien, we believe, doubled in a matter of like 1 million to 2 million years. Like the size of our brain doubled in 1 million to 2 million years. And they're trying to figure out why that is. Now there's several theories. One of them would be the cooked flesh, but being able to cook food, but that comes on later on, so it don't really match the timeline. Another one would be the a mountain being formed or some sort of split with the tectonic plates, getting you out of the trees and onto land, and then having the ability to stand upright and throw and hit animals or enemies or food from a distance. They think that could be a possibility why the brain doubled in size. But another theory is that humans discovered psychedelic mushrooms and ate them, and they allow you to think of things you would have never thought before. They allow you to do things, to imagine things. Like, everything in this world has to come out of imagery. And I mean, if you've even just smoked weed before, you know how it can like slow everything down, and you can really pick apart little things that may not really matter to you in your life and your perspective, but who's to say that it won't matter 100 years from now? You know, like say William Shakespeare is credited with like inventing 1,400 English words, I believe. It might be 1,100, something like that. He's like, when he was breaking down and making up these words, I don't think that he imagined we'd be using them way down the line. And if you've ever tried to read any of his books, I mean, they're incredibly complex. Incredibly complex, you know. So, lost my place there. Super complex stuff, you know. So, you can only imagine, you know, what you gotta, like, so, back to what I was saying. So, you know, you could get on this mushroom trip and imagine, like, what if I took a spear and put a handle on it with a cup, spoon type thing on it, and used that to throw something harder. And that's the Atlatl, I believe, or the Atlatl. Is that? I believe that's correct. Atlatl. God, I learned this way back in like 3rd grade or something. Let's see if I'm right. Atlatl. Atlatl. Damn, if I wasn't right. That is crazy. Here, let me see if I can pull up a picture for you of an Atlatl, and see. Look, I think I found a video here and show you guys.
Conquistadors invaded Mexico in 1521 with Spanish armor. Good luck. Good afternoon, Doc. Who's coming up next? I'm not satisfied with that. You see the spot?
Alright, here we go. Trying to pierce Spanish armor here. But let me see if I can just pick up an image here. See, that is an Atlatl. Pretty much, it's just a... let's see if I can get a bigger picture here. Pretty much, it's a stick with a frickin' hook in it, like that, and you use it to throw a spear. You know. I mean, you know, somebody ingenious, you know, had to be thinking of things like this, and maybe it was through the help of magic mushrooms. You know, it's see, and a lot of it's linked with the fertility cult thing aspect too, because it rains, so God impregnates the earth with His sperm. This is from John Marco Allegro. This is what he believes, and what he believes that ancient cults believed. And it's not hard to imagine that they would, because they weren't like, you know, smart as us. They didn't go to school, didn't have training. But so this is what they believed: God ejaculated His sperm, and it came down as rain. It impregnated the earth. And from that, it did things like turn water into wine, or grow these magical mushrooms, which, when they grow, happen to look like penises. That you know, and so this is where like this fertility thing came from, you know. And I mean, if you're thinking with like a first century brain and you're told to believe this, I don't see why it would be so difficult to believe. But before I go, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to get ready to end this video here, but I'm going to pull up one more image if I can. And to show you, which this is, I ran across this in my studies. And it kind of weirded me out. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just going to pull up the Amanita muscaria and Christianity. That's all I'm gonna type in on Google Images, or this is Bing. It might be Bing. Let me see here. Let me just turn this one more time here. So if you see right here, this is some early Christian artwork. That's Jesus, and he's got mushrooms growing. Here's the Amanita muscaria in particular, growing in this poetry, in this piece of artwork with him. It's not the only one. Here is Adam and Eve in the garden. They're eating the forbidden fruit. As you can see, it looks just like an Amanita muscaria. There's the serpent giving them the forbidden fruit, and that is them eating it. And you can see there's plenty of mushroom mythology, and all this is just mushroom. You see this whole background with the red and white dots. Mushroom worship, in effect. Here's another one. Let's see, where was it at? Here's the one. There's the Jesus and the Amanita muscaria again. Here's another one. You see it's growing out, you know. So and there is literally tons of artwork like this, you see, and that's not it, you know. If you look at the way these look here, check this out. So, you know, and it's so, and let's see, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm just going to do the Pope. So, as you can see, like, remember how I told you the shaman emulated the mushroom and they dressed like it? They became it. As you can see, the similarities and these dresses and stuff that these popes and bishops and see, there's the Amanita muscaria growing underneath the pine tree. But as you can see, the imagery is there. You see? So, look, there's the cover. The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, John Mark Allegro. That's the guy I was talking about. That is the actual cover of the book. Like I said, a tough read, but well worth it if you can handle such a thing. So, you know. Well, that's mostly it, guys. I just wanted to touch on that stuff. It was something weird that I got, you know me, I'm always looking up weird stuff. I'm always looking up controversial things, you know. What could be more controversial than Christianity being based on mushrooms, right? On what John Marcos said, mushroom worship and fertility cults. That comes out of his own mouth. That was the words he used. And then Christmas, which I'm almost convinced now after the research is based on these mushrooms. I would probably need a little bit more convincing for the whole Christianity, the whole thing being based on it. but definitely Christmas. I'm sold on the Christmas part. The Christianity, honestly, I've been doing research on Vietnam lately, so I kind of fell off of the mushroom thing because a documentary on it sucked me in, and now I'm just reading as much about Vietnam as I can right now. If y'all want me to make a video on Vietnam, I could totally do that though, because I'm like, wheels are turning about Vietnam right now. But alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Justin Gibbons Show. I am your host, Justin Gibbons. Woo! Tune in next time.